Trouble is brewing in EastEnders next week, and things are about to spiral badly for Billy and Honey Mitchell as BA's behavior takes a seriously worrying turn. What starts as heartbreak and humiliation quickly turns into something far more dangerous when B lashes out as her world begins falling apart. At first, things seem fairly normal as B fusses around Ian Beale on his first official day as Walford's new counselor. But while she's trying to play the supportive partner, Ian is distracted by ongoing tension with Linda Carter and his awkward attempts to smooth things over with Elaine Peacock following the recent election drama. Meanwhile, Honey is still becoming increasingly anxious after suspecting her identity may have been stolen. After encouragement from Billy, she finally asks B when she plans to move out, but B insists she's hoping to move in with Ian instead. Things unravel after Cindy Beale shows Ian an article B has written in the Gazette which refers to the pair as husband and wife. Realizing BA's feelings have become far more intense than he expected, Ian decides to end the relationship there and then. Speaking about BA's reaction, actress Ronnie Ancona explained, "B switches so quickly. She's mercurial, and she can't seem to regulate her emotions. B suddenly gets very angry very quickly instead of processing the situation." She added, "She suddenly becomes vengeful about the situation with Ian." Although Ian is shocked by BA's explosive reaction, his problems are only just beginning. Before long, he discovers the truth behind Honey's missing money fears. B has secretly used a fraudulent credit card in Honey's name to pay people for election votes. Furious, Ian storms over to number 18 and confronts B in front of Honey. At first, B desperately tries to talk her way out of the situation and cover her tracks, while a stunned Honey orders Ian to leave the house. But eventually B realizes there's nowhere left to hide and finally admits what she's done. According to Ronnie, BA's feelings for Honey are genuine, which makes the betrayal even more tragic. B loves Honey too much. Not in a romantic sense, but she's the friend that she never had, and the confidant that she never had, she explained. She's horrified that Honey has found out. B has done something fundamentally wrong, but with B, things just snowball. They snowball, and before you know it, everything is out of control. The actress also revealed that BA's desperate actions come from wanting acceptance more than anything else. She knows she's rejected soundly, so she thinks she can buy herself people's affections. She's a toxic people pleaser, but it makes her feel important and wanted. Later, Honey meets with Ian, Kathy Beale, Linda and Elaine at the Vic to discuss what's happened. While some think B should face consequences, Ian becomes more concerned about protecting himself, fearing a police investigation could damage his new counselor position. Back at home, Honey almost finds herself softening towards B and appears close to forgiving her, until Billy arrives home and learns the full truth. Furious over BA's lies and manipulation, he demands she leave immediately. And it's clear that BA's resentment towards Billy has been building for a while. Discussing their tense dynamic, Ronnie said, "She genuinely does not think that Billy is good enough for Honey. She finds him coarse and she doesn't respect him." She also hinted that BA's biggest issue with Billy is that he sees through her completely. Billy is a perfectly nice, hardworking guy who just wants a simple life with his family, but he can see through her, and therefore he's a problem. But things take an even darker turn after B leaves. Consumed by anger and revenge, she tampers with Billy's ladder before fleeing the scene, though panic quickly sets in as she realizes the seriousness of what she's done. Later, B attempts to apologize to Ian, but he refuses to believe she's genuinely sorry. Completely isolated and with nowhere else to go, B ends up bedding down at McClunky's. And according to Ronnie, this is only the beginning of BA's downward spiral. "It's going to get so much darker for Honey and Billy," she warned. "I would say that B increasingly spirals, and she becomes more dangerous as a result." The square had never felt this uneasy. In Walford, trouble was never far away, but lately it had been creeping in differently, quieter, colder, like something watching from just out of sight. And at the center of it all, without fully realizing how fast things were spiraling, were Billy Mitchell and Honey Mitchell. It started with small changes in B. At first, people in EastEnders just said she was going through a phase. She had always been a bit intense, a bit unpredictable, but lately there was something sharper in her eyes. Something that didn't soften even when she smiled. Billy Mitchell noticed it first. He'd known enough troublemakers in his life to recognize when a situation was quietly tipping over the edge. Billy Mitchell had spent years trying to keep his family stable, trying to be the steady hand in a life that rarely stayed still. But B didn't respond to steady. She reacted to pressure, and she was starting to apply it everywhere. Honey Mitchell, meanwhile, tried to see the good in her. Honey Mitchell had always been the heart of warmth in Billy's world. Gentle, forgiving, endlessly hopeful. But even she was beginning to notice the cracks. B wasn't just moody anymore. She was calculating, watching, testing boundaries like she was waiting for them to break. And one by one they started to. It began with missing money. Billy discovered it first when he was sorting out household expenses. A small amount at first, barely noticeable, but enough to make him pause. He blamed himself, checked again, brushed it off. But then it happened again. And again. Honey suggested maybe it was a banking error. B overheard that and smiled in a way that didn't reach her eyes. It's always easier to blame systems than people, she said softly, almost kindly. But Billy felt the warning in it. Then came the incident at the cafe. Honey had left B alone for less than 10 minutes. When she returned, a customer was shouting, a cup had been smashed, and B stood behind the counter looking completely calm, too calm. She was rude, B explained simply. So I responded appropriately. But there had been something in the way she said it. Not anger. Not even frustration. Something colder. Like she was documenting behavior rather than reacting to it. Billy pulled her aside later. We don't do that, he told her firmly. Not in this family. Not in this community. B tilted her head slightly. What exactly is this family, Billy? Stability? Or just pretending everything is fine until it isn't? That question lingered longer than Billy liked. Honey tried to smooth things over at home that night, making tea, suggesting they were all just under stress. But even she hesitated when B walked past her without a word, leaving a tension in the air that didn't dissolve. The turning point came with the rumors. People in the square started whispering that B had been seen arguing with someone near the allotments late at night. Others said she had been asking questions about residents, who lived alone, who had money, who had problems. Billy didn't want to believe it. Honey refused to believe it. But denial only works for so long in a place like Walford. Then something happened that changed everything. A neighbor reported a break-in. Nothing major was stolen, but the way the scene was described made Billy go cold. It wasn't messy. It wasn't rushed. It was controlled. Almost deliberate. And B had been nearby that night. When Billy confronted her, she didn't deny it immediately. She just looked at him for a long moment. You're scared, she said finally. I'm trying to understand, Billy replied. That's your problem, B said quietly. You always think understanding comes before survival. Honey stepped in then, voice trembling but firm. B, if you've done something, you can tell us. We can fix it. B actually laughed at that, soft, brief, unsettling. Fix it, she repeated. You think things get fixed here? In this place, everyone here is just surviving their own mess and calling it normal. That night, Billy couldn't sleep. He sat in the dark, thinking about all the small changes he had ignored. The way B had started standing differently. The way she listened too closely. The way she seemed to anticipate reactions instead of reacting to them. Honey found him awake and sat beside him. I think she's in trouble, Honey whispered. Billy shook his head. No. It's worse than that. Because deep down, he was beginning to understand something he didn't want to admit. B wasn't just changing. She was choosing. The next day, things escalated. A confrontation in the square turned ugly when B accused someone of lying to her face. Words were exchanged. Voices rose. But it wasn't the shouting that unsettled Billy. It was the moment B stopped mid-argument and smiled. Like she had reached a conclusion no one else could see. I see it now, she said quietly. And just like that she walked away. Honey tried to follow her but Billy stopped her. No, he said firmly. Let her go. But she's... I know, Billy cut in, his voice heavy. That's exactly why we need to be careful. Because Billy Mitchell had seen enough darkness in his life to recognize when it wasn't just passing through. That evening B left something on the kitchen table. No explanation. No message. Just a folded piece of paper with names written on it. Billy unfolded it slowly. His name was at the top. Honey's was beneath it. And below that, others from the square. A list. Honey's hand shook as she read it. What is this? Billy didn't answer immediately. His eyes stayed on the paper longer than he wanted them to. I think, he said slowly, this is what she thinks needs to be dealt with. Silence filled the room like a weight. Honey's voice broke. She wouldn't, she can't, she's just confused. But Billy wasn't sure anymore. Because confusion didn't usually come with planning. Or lists. Or patience. Later that night, Billy saw Bea standing outside in the rain, staring down the street like she was mapping something invisible. He approached carefully. You don't have to do this, he said. Bea didn't turn around. I already have, she replied. Billy stepped closer. Whatever you think is happening, we can stop it. Together. That finally made her look at him. For a moment there was something flickering behind her eyes. Something human, something familiar. But it vanished quickly. You still think this is about stopping, she said. It isn't. It's about control. And then she walked away into the night. Billy stood there long after she disappeared. Rain soaking through his coat, realizing something he didn't want to accept. This wasn't just a family problem anymore. This was danger spreading, quiet and deliberate, growing inside someone they thought they knew. And in Walford, when things turned dark, they rarely turned back. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe to EastEnders Spoilers Official.